What's going on, everybody? C4 and welcome to the newest episode of the Rivalry Rebuild, where we are going to take two players that will be connected throughout their entire careers, be it they're a divisional rivalry, be it they were drafted at the same time, be it they're dominant at each individual positions, and they're roughly around the same age. And we did episode 1. It was Sam Darnold, it was Josh Allen, and it was a pretty interesting episode. So I thought the next logical one would be doing one involving my Philadelphia Eagles. And we are going to do a 10-year simulation and find out who is the better quarterback, Carson Wentz of the Philadelphia Eagles, or is it going to be the man that was taken one pick ahead of him and is off to maybe a hotter start? I mean, Carson Wentz has been banged up, and they have, different games played and stuff like that if we're comparing them right now in the 2018 season. But Jared Goff has looked really, really good for the Rams so far. And while I believe, there's a debate that both these guys are system quarterbacks, the talent, the arm talent is still undeniably there. So we are going to actually start up first with the Rams and see just what Jared Goff can accomplish during a 10-year period and maybe set himself apart from Mr. Carson Wentz. And then we're going to hop over to the Philadelphia Eagles, do 10 years with the Eagles. Lovely Eagles, probably going to win multiple Super Bowls, because they're the greatest team in history. But more so focus on what Carson Wentz accomplished in those 10 years. And at the very end, we'll do a nice little side-by-side comparison and find out who is the winner of that rivalry. So you could probably state that maybe if we had to, when we talk about rivalries, you almost want to bring up every single time Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. If you have to look at two young quarterbacks that have the upside and potential to be that next great rivalry, it could very well be Carson Wentz. It could very well be Jared Goff. So let's find out, and we'll start off with the Rams. All right, up first, starting with Mr. Jared Goff. He is an 83 overall quick dev player. When you look at his big stats, you get the 94 throw power, 92 short accuracy, 88 play action, because he loves to get that job done with Todd Gurley in the backfield. And he is currently, at a starting point, the number 14 ranked quarterback in the league. Now, when you look at the offense around him, better than Philly's, I think you could say, from a skill position player standpoint. You got Todd Gurley, who might be the best running back in football. You got Cooks, who's a young deep threat. You got Cooper Kupp, who has an excellent connection already and established rapport. And in reality, he's probably the safety net for Jared Goff. It's so usually the tight ends, which they have some nice little options here in Higbee and Everett. But I would probably say that Cooper Kupp is his safety net in this offense. And you also got Robert Woods. And, also the defense is nice as well. You can't forget about, the Aaron Donalds. You can't forget to talk about the Marcus Peters, the Marcus Joyners, John Johnson's great secondary. So, from that standpoint, this could be a team that, very similar to the Philadelphia Eagles, when we did the Philadelphia Eagles realistic rebuild, 2-3 years in, the team just absolutely gets depleted because there's no way to work around that salary cap. But again, that may be, a good indicator of how these two quarterbacks, Goff and Wentz, can persevere when the talent around them isn't as hot as it is when we start off. So let's get through the 2018 season. We'll get a quick summary of maybe the pace that Jared Goff is going to set. Then we'll go all the way to year number 5, and then we'll work our way to year number 10. So there'll be 3 stopping points along the way as we analyze the 10-year career of Jared Goff. So looking at the end of the first season, did not make the playoffs. 8-7-1 coming as the runner-up in the NFC West. Goff, however, 85 overall. So he started as an 83. Now he's 85 with the confidence boost. So I don't think we can blame much on him. But he did not get anything in ways of a dev trait boost or made the Pro Bowl or anything like that. Looking at our starting numbers that we're working on, that's not bad at all, though. 3,900 passing yards, 39 touchdowns, and 10 picks for Jared Goff. And understanding, this is our starting point. We maybe should have started out with that. Through 3 years, 8,800 passing yards, 72 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. Those are really, really good numbers. I think, this is obviously the first episode with Darnold and Allen. Those are two rookies we don't know. I'm pretty sure that Goff and Wentz, by this point in their careers, are going to be good starters at their, that's their floor, if not developing into the next Brady and Manning rivalry. But the way that Goff has started out this career through the first 3 years, really ignoring that first year with Jeff Fisher, I think we're going to put out some pretty scary numbers. So I'm surprised that he had a year like that, and they still failed to make the playoffs, losing out to the 49ers. So not a hot start for Jared Goff. Now let's, get a little midway part of his career and see where he is come year 5. All right, we're coming here not actually at year 5. I figure like if anything big happens in the growth of our player, we will need to make note of it. So we are here in year 3, and I'm going to follow the same trends for, you know, buying coaching XP packages and stuff like that for both McVay and Peterson. So in year 2, we're currently in year 3, I bought the XP boost, and then year 3, I actually bought the QB boost. So those are going to be the same things we do for Carson Wentz when we do the Eagles. So now looking at Jared Goff, he's up to an 89, so that is +6 from where we started, and he got that star dev trait increase, which is definitely going to help out his development long term. However, here in year 3, another 8 and 8, not very good. All right, here we are at year 5, which is the money rebuild, the Super Bowl or bust stage in our realistic rebuilds. And Jared Goff is now a 90 overall. However, he has lost his star dev trait last year. Through the 3 seasons that you have not seen, in year 2, he went 11-5, and they were 1 and done. They lost in the wild card round. Year 3, which we kind of saw, they were 8 and 8 and missed the playoffs. And last year, they were 9 and 7, last team in the NFC to make the playoffs. And they went all the way to the NFC Championship game, where they lost to the Atlanta Falcons. Looking at Goff's stats throughout that time period, they've been all right numbers. They've not been outstanding, but the fact that he's in the 90 range at least, like that 90 minimum, is not too bad. So we had that big 39-10 season. Since then, I mean, just stellar. 33-9, 33-12, 33-9. The yards have fluctuated a little bit, but the touchdown, the end game production has been there. So now we're here, year 5, 90 overall quarterback. Looking at his weapons, he still got Cooks. You got Kupp. You got Rob Woods. You got Todd Gurley. Higbee's developing into a nice little option. Offensive line is absolute dog shit, which is pretty much what's going to happen in real life with the Rams. Unless they hit home run after home run in the draft, there's no way with all that salary cap and the money that they've thrown around that they're going to be able to invest in any offensive lineman in the free agency market. So let's hope that Goff can keep with that fast release, because guys are going to be in his face all damn day. So here we are in year number 10, the final year in the simulation for Mr. Jared Goff, who at this point is sitting at a 92 overall normal dev. So he has been in a little bit of a regression. Since we last saw, they went 9 and 7. They lost in the NFC Championship game. In year 5, they went 8 and 8. Year 6, 8 and 8. Year 7, they were 11 and 5, finally making it back to the playoffs. However, they lost in the divisional round. Year 8, they went 9 and 7. Year 9, last year, 7, 8 and 1. So here we are, all or nothing for them to try and win a Super Bowl. Looking at his stats to this point, has been downward. This is where we left in 2021. That was year 5. 29 and 7 the year after that. 26 and 8. 35 and 11. 29 and 9. 28 and 8. So those are just like above average quarterback numbers, you know, in that Matt Stafford range. And boy, this team, the salary cap has kind of worked them. Their Cooks is a 76. Todd Gurley's a 77. Their top wide receiver is this dude, Sherman Garrett from Louisiana Tech, 77. They have a nice looking tight end here. Gent, 86. Offensive line is as strong as it's been, I would say, outside of like year 1. Defensively, no one you remember. They got John Johnson back there. No Aaron Donald. No Marcus Peters. No Marcus Joyner. This is a kind of different looking defense as they're an 83 base. So in this team, I think it's going to be kind of difficult for them to make the playoffs, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. Year 10, they put the pedal to the metal and made the playoffs, where they had to take on divisional rivals San Francisco 49ers away in the wild card round. Looking at Mr. Goff, they're 9 and 7. That's all right. What did Jared Goff do on this season? Bounce back year for him. 4,200 passing yards, 32 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So what we're actually going to do, because when we did the Darnold and Josh Allen, they never made the playoffs in, I think it was 17 years of total game, because Josh Allen got released by the Bills. Because it's year 10 and we are in this spot, we're going to sim. We're just going to play it. We're going to navigate through the playoffs as if we were acting as the owner of the Rams, like in a regular franchise mode. But we'll just super sim it and narrate over that. So let's get into this wild card playoff game against the 10 and 6 49ers. All right, let's get it. When I look at the Rams, again, this is a team that has a better defense than offense, but in reality, I guess it kind of worked itself out that the best player on the Rams offense, the player that would be responsible for the Rams doing anything, would be their 92 overall quarterback, Mr. Jared Goff. So this has been a pretty boring field goal affair here, 9-3. But there we go. There we go, starting to pull ahead. We got that championship pedigree. I don't necessarily know if they have Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback still in San Francisco. But that's an interesting matchup as well. Jimmy Garoppolo got paid a lot of money. That could be a future episode of a rebuild, a revival thing, seeing what happens between Jimmy Garoppolo and Mr. Jared Goff, who got the better of him maybe today. Nope, they had this guy, Riley Harris. Cool. But Jared Goff on the day, 243 yards, 1 touchdown. Wasn't anything special, but the Rams showed out big, getting a 41-13 victory as they move on to the NFC divisional round. Next up for the Rams is the 12-4 New York Giants. And if I know one thing about the Giants, you never want to see a Giants team in the playoffs when they have that, like, you know, that 9-7 record, like kind of how we've snuck in. You don't care. Like, I feel like when the Giants have a good record, like 10, 11, 12 wins, you know, they don't have their backs against the wall. They're an organization that need to be the underdogs. You know, to coin a phrase from the Eagles, even though the Eagles didn't invent it, but it seems like it every time you talk about an Eagles friggin' game, like, oh, they're the underdogs again. Even I'm getting a little bit tired of it. So look at this game in the fourth quarter. We have a 3-point lead. The Giants are able to kick a field goal to equalize that, but come on, we're in the red zone, man. In the red zone, it looks like we're the team that's settling for field goals while the Giants are able to punch it in for full-on touchdowns. So this could very well be the dagger in our Rams franchise, and it is, as they fall 27-23 to the New York Giants. 320 yards, 1 touchdown on the day for Jared Goff, as it was just not enough to get past them goddamn New York Giants. So we'll pop out of this, get the totals for Jared Goff, and then we will know what we're working against when we take over the Eagles and see what Carson Wentz's career will play out as. So here we are looking at the career summary of Jared Goff as he is in year 11, pretty much getting ready for the twilight of his career. At this point, he has a career record of 88 wins, 70 losses, 2 ties. He's made the playoffs 4 times, never making it to a Super Bowl. In year 4, they did go to the NFC Championship game. 44,000 passing yards, 350 touchdowns, 105 interceptions. Has a 93 overall. It's still a 92 with the because he has the confidence. But hey, you know what? Actually, we'll give him credit right here. I'm putting these notes down. We'll give him credit. He has a 93 overall, which is the highest he's hit. He got back up into a quick dev trait. When you look at some of his highlights, he's made the Pro Bowl twice. No MVPs, no Offensive Players of the Year. Got a Player of the Week in 18. So I mean, I think that is kind of underwhelming, I guess, if you're looking at him from that standpoint. But sitting at 32, you know, most quarterbacks in this game, like, you know, 33, 34, that's when they hit the gigantic wall. Not enough room in the regression system to have, you know, a Tom Brady. So this is Jared Goff. This is where we're sitting at. So now let's go on over to Carson Wentz, and then we'll talk about Goff at the very end of the video when we do the side-by-side comparison. Now it's time to talk about Ginger Jesus, Mr. Carson Wentz. Now we are back, way back at 2018. This is the starting point where Carson Wentz is currently an 87 overall superstar dev quarterback. So from that standpoint, it always was going to be an uphill battle in a comparison between him and Jared Goff. But I think Carson Wentz is 2 years older. I think Goff's only 23 when we started off. I could be a little bit wrong on that. So, I mean, from that standpoint, the regression that Wentz could hit around year 8, 9, and 10, that Goff, you know, they're able to get them in the playoffs in year 10, that could be the difference maker. But, yeah, you can definitely say that Carson Wentz is starting off. You know, he has, +4 overall on Jared Goff. But I think, you know, when you look at the offenses, maybe better skill position players. You look at Alshon Jeffrey, you look at Nelson Aguilar, not much outside of that. Plus, Alshon's older than any of the wide receivers that they had there in LA. LA had that core group of Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Todd Gurley for the most of Jared Goff's career, where I think that drop-off is going to be a little bit more harsher to the Eagles offense because Jay Ajayi set to be a free agent. Alshon Jeffrey is 29, 28? So realistically, his weapons long-term are Ertz, Goddard, and Nelson Aguilar. When you look at the defense, you know, pretty good defense as well. I don't know what the base overall, I think actually is the exact same as Rams. I think they both were at a 90, 91, somewhere in that range. But ultimately, yeah, a superior offense here for the Eagles, which, you know, that'll be nice. I'm gonna gloat every bit of the way. It doesn't make me feel any more, well, it's not fair comparing Goff and Wentz, because you know what? I'm still salty about McVay beating Doug Pearson for Coach of the Year. So I kind of do hope that Wentz crushes him in this rivalry rebuild. So let's get into it. All right, drastically different than the 8-7-1 season Jared Goff had his year 1. Philadelphia is here in the Super Bowl, a battle of 10-6 teams as the Eagles get ready to play the Jags. I will just go into the Super Sim for that one. But Carson Wentz is at a 95 overall. I mean, 93 with the confidence. His stats on the season were 42 touchdowns, 4,200 passing yards, and 12 interceptions. When you look at the awards, what did we get? My God, he got the Pro Bowl, he got Player of the Week, he was the MVP, and the Offensive Player of the Year. So already 1 year in, you can debatably say Carson Wentz is the better of the two. But there still is a lot of football to play. Who knows? There could be drastic changes. We saw what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles when we did the realistic rebuild. Things were not that pretty after the first year or so. So maybe that will continue. But let's hop into this game and see if the Philadelphia Eagles can win back-to-back Super Bowls. Carson Wentz going up against Jalen Ramsey, A.J. Boye, and that very good secondary. However, the Philadelphia Eagles do have that Super Bowl pedigree, that Super Bowl experience that the Jacksonville Jaguars, and more importantly, Blake Bortles, I think, would succumb to in a game of this magnitude. But it's been a little bit of a low-scoring battle. 10-3 right now, 10-10 tie in the second quarter. And the Philadelphia Eagles here are settling for field goals, which is a little bit worrisome. Hopefully we can make the Jags do the same, which they are not. Come on. Let's go. Where's that Philly special? At least our defense is showing up. It's not a shootout like the Eagles-Patriots game. And let's see if good old Carson Wentz can turn on the burners here in the fourth quarter and really pull this game ahead. We have a 1-point lead. The Jags get a... Oh, come on, man. These turnovers in the red zone. Embarrassing. Come on. Keep us in it, Carson. We got a minute. Third down. They got to get it. And they fall to the Jacksonville Jaguars, 42-35 on the day. Not much else Carson Wentz could do, but at 310 yards, 3 passing touchdowns against maybe the toughest defense that you have to go up against in Madden. Whereas Blake Bortles probably just picked on Jalen Mills for 330 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, good successful year one. Had more success and accomplished more than Jared Goff did in 10 years. But let's see what happens out. And let's let it play out, and we'll regroup at year 5. All right, gonna come back sooner than expected because year 2, we're back in the Super Bowl. 11-5 Eagles going up against 11-5 Baltimore Ravens. Carson Wentz. I mean, how many times do we need to talk about this so disappointing regression system? He lost his dev trait. I think it went down right there. Yeah, he made the Pro Bowl. Oh, sorry, he lose a dev trait for. God, they gotta fix that, man. But Carson Wentz on the year as we have another NFC East title, 4,000 passing yards, 34 touchdowns. And, very much like the last Super Bowl against the Jags. We've made 3 straight. Let's see if Philly can get the job done here against Baltimore and I assume Lamar Jackson. All right, hopefully their defense doesn't fall flat and give up 4 touchdowns to a inferior quarterback, but you never know what's going to happen in these sims. So the Baltimore Ravens, always a really good defense. It doesn't matter really what happens with Baltimore. They're always I can't remember the last time Baltimore has been bad against the run. So that kind of might play into the favor of of Carson Wentz just airing the ball out deep. And it looks like we have a considerable lead. So as long as we don't choke it here in the fourth quarter, we should have our like we just kind of did there. Oh my God, our defense is just falling apart. They're gonna choke it, aren't they? Oh, they did not. There we go. Philadelphia in year 3. Not playing good defense whatsoever. Able to outlast Baltimore here and Lamar Jackson to get Carson Wentz his first Super Bowl. Technically his second Super Bowl, but really his first Super Bowl. And, it's kind of embarrassing that here going into year 3, we've already accomplished more with Carson Wentz than Jared Goff. And I feel like if you're a Rams fan watching this, you might be able to sense my enjoyment in my voice. Carson Wentz in the Super Bowl, 288 yards, 1 touchdown, much more the G.A. show, 21 carries, 120 yards. But still, getting the job done. Now, for sure, we'll just go right to year 5, right? Surely we can't make 4 Super Bowls in a row. Year 5, Carson Wentz. A little bit different of a starting period than we were with Goff, because Goff, we haven't won anything. We've already got a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. He is a 97 overall, where you look at his stats through that period of time. Not drastically different than the kind of numbers we saw with Jared Goff. Obviously, that 42-12 season is huge and better than anything Goff had. But the 34, 36, that 30, mid-30 sort of touchdown numbers are pretty much the same kind of numbers that Jared Goff was putting up. I think when you look at this offense, look at this team in general, at year 5, I think the Rams were a better squad. We still got J.J., Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson, and Zach Ertz on the offensive side of the ball. But when your second best wide receiver is Braxton Berrios, then you just got like a 69. Ugh. Not looking good defensively. Fletcher Cox still there. Brandon Graham, Sidney Jones, Ronald Darby, Jordan Hicks, Nigel Bradham, Malcolm Jenkins. A couple of the old heads, guys that were locked into long-term deals. But needless to say, Carson Wentz is going to have to go all in for this 77 overall offense to accomplish anything here in year number 5. Yep, and we went still a 97, but we went 7-9 because this team is absolute dog shit. 3,900 passing yards, 34 touchdowns for Carson Wentz. Considering the weapons that he has available, pretty ridiculous. Let's get into the back stretch of this year and of this whole thing and try to get into year 10. All right, we are here at year number 10, and we are coming off a very ugly 3-13 season last year, so the worst season that either of these quarterbacks have had to date. Carson Wentz is a 96 overall, which is, he's hitting that regression. He's older than, so he's 2 years older than Goff, because last season he was a 98, so that is where his overall has peaked, whereas Goff's overall peaked at 93. But, the offense actually is starting to look a little bit decent. The offensive line has completely been rebuilt. We have a 93 overall tight end. Literally no names that look familiar here on offense. Defensively, they're 79. No one. Not one player I realized. I think there was even a couple, at least on the Rams. So let's see if we can just do better than 3-13. I mean, we already got the Super Bowl, so Carson Wentz doesn't need to play chase up to Jared Goff here in year number 10. I would just like to see a nice, respectable bounce back year from year 9, where we're 3-13. Actually, year before that, year 8, 5-11. So 2 disappointing seasons for the Philadelphia Eagles and Carson Wentz. I'd like to see them put it all together for a very nice finish to this episode. And we finish year 10, very disappointing for the Philadelphia Eagles, 5-11. Definitely not how we want to finish this thing out. But when we take a look here at Carson Wentz, look at his career numbers. 47,000 passing yards, 383 total touchdowns, 129 interceptions. Look at what is individual? What has he done as an individual outside of actually bringing another Super Bowl to Philadelphia, which Jared Goff was unable to do to the great people of Los Angeles. Carson Wentz also made the Pro Bowl 4 times in comparison to Jared Goff's 2. He got the MVP in 2018, Offensive Player of the Year in 2018, and in 2020 was voted the best quarterback in the NFC. So, I mean, from that standpoint, from just doing a side-by-side, which we'll pop into in just 1 second, I think we know who the winner is, but let's just make a fair comparison. So now it is time to put your money where your mouth is and do the comparison here between Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. Now, when we look at the win-loss records, Jared Goff finished with 88, 70, and 2, whereas Carson Wentz finished with 76 and 84. So advantage, Mr. Jared Goff, even though he made the playoffs 4 times and no Super Bowls, versus Carson Wentz, who made the playoffs 4 times, went to 2 Super Bowls, and actually won 1. The overall win-loss goes to Goff and the Rams. Looking at the passing yards and just passing stats, Jared Goff, 44,000 passing yards, 350 touchdowns to 105 interceptions, whereas Carson Wentz, 47,000 passing yards, 383 touchdowns to 129 interceptions. So I think you'd give the slight edge here to Carson Wentz. You look at the individual statistics, Jared Goff, 2-time Pro Bowler, Carson Wentz, 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time MVP, 1-time Offensive Player of the Year, 1-time quarterback of the NFC, and 1-time Super Bowl winner. So when you try to look at a real player comparison for how these guys' careers have played out through 10 years, that we could go a couple more years, get 2, 3, 4 seasons more for each, but I figure 10 is just, it's a nice body of work. Both these guys kind of set their own standard when it looks like you want to compare them to previous legends of the game. So I found 2 quarterbacks that both these guys kind of fall in between. First up is legendary Minnesota Viking. I think he played for a couple of their teams, but Fran Tarkenton, who finished with 47,000 passing yards, 342 touchdowns, and way more interceptions than both Goff and Wentz with 266. And looking for a more current era player, it would be Phillip Rivers, who finished with 51,000 passing yards, 353 touchdowns, and 168 interceptions. The one outlier of all these players is Carson Wentz got a Super Bowl win and ring. Actually, 2 of them, even though he only got 1 in today's video. So there you go. That is the career rivalry rebuild, whatever you want to call it, of Carson Wentz versus Jared Goff, the number 1 and number 2 overall picks of the 2016 draft. Are you surprised with what you saw? Are you not surprised? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you have a suggestion of a career rivalry rebuild, career rivalry just sounds better. I don't know yet. Working title. Still looking for a title. Let me know in the comment section below if you have something catchy. But if you have any ideas for a rivalry that you want to see in this series, let me know in the comment section below. As always, if it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. See if we can maybe hit 300, 400 likes, somewhere in that territory. That'd be awesome. And that does it for me here today, guys. I'll catch you guys tomorrow for another video. Peace out.